Rumble Johnson, guys, what's surprising news, right? And Rumble had sent out a tweet about 10 days ago, something on social media. And he just asked for prayers. It was very to the point. I know a lot of us had reached out to him, and I at least could not get, I didn't get any other details. So, rest in peace, Rumble, right? There was a thing done many years ago. Do you guys remember Anna Nicole Smith? Does that name ring a bell? She was like a Playboy something. Now, whether that was centerfold or the cover or model of the year, but it was something through that. A similar vibe to Marilyn Monroe, which every generation, even if you're copying Marilyn Monroe, the closest thing that each generation has to a Marilyn Monroe, it works. And she had a level of fame because of this. Then, Anna Nicole married like a billionaire. And if it wasn't a billionaire, he was worth hundreds of... Do you have to be a billionaire? Right, if you got $80 million, you got more money than you're going to spend. Can we just call you a billionaire? So she marries this guy, and he was like 92 years old. She was... whatever she did, you guys remember Playboy? It was a long time ago, but it was a thing when I was growing up. And so she marries this guy, and he passes away. Of course he passed away. So she inherits everything, barely knew. So his kids had a real problem with this, but they were married or they're like living in Bahamas. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Turns into a whole big national thing. Then Anna Nicole Smith passes away. And I only told you that previous story about her, let you know it was kind of a big name at the time. And so this was big news when she had then passed away. So Larry King, all right, massive show, right? Guy, he's terrible at his job, but he's got a massive show. People watch him, and he's doing a thing on Anna Nicole Smith. And so he brings on a split screen, two people that knew Anna Nicole to speak on this death and what happened and the tragedy and what led to this. Give us some kind of an insight. The first person on the screen, so it's a split screen, is a professional wrestler named Chyna. So when Larry throws to Chyna, hey, tell us about Anna Nicole. You were friends with her, and what can you tell us at a time in mourning? Chyna formed words, but she did not form a sentence. I mean, she was saying things like, "Oh, and I was so sad. I was so surprised to hear the news." And so Larry's kind of trying to dig in. Well, hell, do you have any cause? Do you have any signs? Do you know what led to this? Do you know who was with her? Do you know if she was worried, if she saw this coming, if she had an ailment? And Chyna's talking about, I was, when I got this news, and I'm trying to process it. It was weird. Chyna never said anything, and it's not because she was drunk or intoxicated. We find out when the second person on the screen goes why Chyna had nothing to say about Anna Nicole, and it was humiliating. The second person that comes on the screen before she gets to Anna Nicole turns to Chyna on live worldwide TV and says, "You didn't know Anna Nicole. I have been her friend since youth. As a matter of fact, Chyna, I've actually asked her about you specifically, and she said she doesn't know you. So the fact that you would come on Larry King's show at a time of mourning to get attention, pretending to know somebody, called her out on World Live TV, live. Okay, now it's Chyna's turn to go, right? The only person that can settle this dispute is no longer here, so Chyna, being a good carny, is going to be able to just lie. Oh, for heaven's sakes, I knew her very well. Where's my phone at? I've got texts from her and emails now. Chyna fumbled the response worse than she fumbled when they first threw to her. She didn't try to claim it at all. The person actually said, "I talked to her about you. She said she doesn't know you." And Chyna's response was, "Well, this is just such a hard time." Never gets a full sentence out. It's humiliating. I really was. I mean, all of these years ago, and now it's R.I.P. Chyna as well, right? But it was this humiliating moment. Why do I tell you that story? Because I don't want to make believe for you the way that Chyna did, that I was inside track with Rumble. I was a fan. I knew him, and Rumble and I came up together. And we were both with a company called Tap Out. Rumble had called me out one time. He called me out and I didn't even respond. He was too beneath because he was 170 pounds. I was king at 185 pounds. He was 170 pounder. Why is he calling out us big guys, right? Now I see Rumble before. I mean, he's just a monster. You guys remember this about him? He fought at 170 pounds. My favorite part about Rumble, he always had a hard time making weight. He missed weight many times, but he had an extremely hard time making weight. So Dana finally says enough and moves him up to 185. Do you guys remember this? Rumble missed that weight class by 7 pounds. Rumble just had a hard time, man. It was one of those things. And the guys that worked with him said that. They said, it doesn't matter what the number is. He will make it hard on himself, like the way he cuts weight and pulls and looks at the sport. So they move him from 170 to 185. He misses that weight by 7 pounds. Guys, guess what? He never went back to 185 pounds. Oh, by the way, guess what? He didn't go to 205 for 2 years. He went to heavyweight. Rumble went from 170, I guess 185, even though he never made it. Skipped over light heavyweight. He went up to heavyweight and he knocked out world champions. He knocked out a world champion in the first round. Rumble Johnson on the open circuit, what we call the regional circuit, is one of the most terrifying propositions in the history of the regional circuit. He didn't belong. He should not be there. But what can Dana do? You missed weight 4 times at 170. I want to make you number 1 contender. You missed weight. I move you up to 85, put you against Vitor, which is going to spring you right in. And I was at 85 at the time. Yeah, that would have done it. We would have all had to go deal with Rome. He misses that. This is what am I supposed to do? I got to turn you loose for a little bit. He's on the open circuit. You guys want to see a great fight? You want to see a great fight that I can almost guarantee you haven't seen? You want to see a nasty, nasty Jake Roshold versus Rumble Johnson. Now, Jake Roshold is a story of what could have been. He was a great athlete. Had amongst the greatest collegiate careers next to Chael Sonnen, truly. There's a group of probably 10 or 12 guys next to Chael, but he would be in this group, and he could have done it in MMA. It was matchup issues. There's a lot that goes into MMA. But if you ever want to see the heart and the toughness of Jake Roshold, you go watch this fight, because he doesn't win a damn minute of it. And he does not quit or back down a damn second of it. It was awesome. And Rumble had to stay on him, go, oh my gosh, this guy is so good. So he's on the regional scene. He comes back into the UFC. He gets on his run. He goes for world titles. Guys, I'll tell you this. And I'm a fan. I'm not China. I'm being a fan. I will tell you this. You've got to be able to get in a racer and remove 2 things. 2 opponents. You got to remove Daniel Cormier and you got to remove Vitor Belfort. You get in a race, if you can just remove those, and you go stare at Rumble Johnson's resume, and you come to the conclusion that he just might be the greatest of all time, you would have a very easy argument to make that. I realize Rumble Johnson's not in the discussion for the greatest. I do realize that. If you could remove those 2 opponents, you had nothing more, you're just looking at the resume, and you can't, my God, he stopped in the first round. He knocked out in the first minute. He put away inside of 5 minutes. If you went through it from 170, skipped over 80, guys at 205, world champions at heavyweight. It was truly an unbelievable career. And my favorite Rumble story is he came out to Submission Underground, and he did a couple of them. And we dealt him right from the bottom of the deck. I mean, first thing, he's got to go in there with Craig Jones. I don't know if he'd ever done an official grappling match, or he's a college wrestler and whatnot. Got to go in there with Craig Jones. He comes back, he's got to go in there with Ryan Bader. When Ryan Bader is the sitting simultaneous 2-time world champion. Oh, by the way, they have a history. Like, Bader came into this match. Bader came into port. I am not losing. It was one of these things. It's an awesome match. Lad. You guys have heard me tell stories about Lad. Lad was in a computer class in high school. Wesleyan High School, they offered an editing class. So that's exciting. I didn't get to have anything like that. I would have loved to have it. So Lad's got a camera. He's got some editing equipment. UFC and Dana find out about this. They hire Lad. Give him $500 to come into Submission Underground and be the behind-the-scenes reporter. He was the only one. Then he's going to go back and he's going to edit. He's going to put this whole thing together. And Ladd did a great job. He was going around and he was asking guys. He had access to some major guys. We got Donald Cerrone there. We got RDA. Right, he's face-to-face with Bader. He goes up to Rumble Johnson. He says to Rumble Johnson, and here's what I loved about it, right? It wasn't, what do you think about this fight? How's training going? Guess what Ladd asks him? Ladd says, hey, Rumble, what's your favorite burger? So Rumble thought that Ladd said murder. And Rumble began to answer the question, okay? Now, Ladd doesn't realize that Rumble is answering a murder question. Ladd thinks he's saying burger, and Ladd fires back at him, do you like pickles and mustard? Now, it's at that point that Rumble realizes I was asked about a burger, not about a murder. And Rumble tells him, hey, man, you got to edit that out. And Ladd says, oh, yeah, I definitely will, no problem. Now, when I get the final copy, I have that whole story. I have Rumble saying you got to edit it out. And Ladd saying, oh, yeah, no problem, I will. I rewind it. Wait a minute. He thought he got asked what was your favorite murder, and he started to answer. Like, what was he going to say? Was he going to get into Manson or the Night Stalker? Now, this is funny, right? I mean, this is a very funny story. He only got like a sentence. Ladd fires at him, pickles and mustard. He realizes what happened. Tells Ladd at it. Ladd says I will, and turns the whole thing into me. I got to tell you, that's my favorite Rumble story. So where was he going to go with that? Where was he going to go with that? Rumble, thank you for the memories. R.I.P.